guys, I'm Ritu, and with me as always Mangalam. Mangalam, growing up, you had two kinds of eaters. There were people like you, the vegetarians, and there were people like me, the non-vegetarians. But what have you today? I mean, there's vegans, there's pescatarians.
There's eggitarians, people who are vegetarian but eat only egg, make that exception.
There's lacto-vegetarians, there's evo-vegetarians, or I don't even know the kind of tarians that exist now. It's just...
A lot of them are actually annoying as well. But, to be very honest, I eat vegetarian food and the only egg I consume are in desserts.
Well, I don't know what category that you fall into.
Desertarian.
But you know what? The fact of the matter is these evolving diet preferences, the health consciousness and rising awareness for climate change, all of this has given rise to a food revolution of sorts, and that is what we're going to discuss today on Mad About Markets. And you know what? These ingredients for success of this food revolution, you have the new protein options which are based on plants, which are microorganisms, fermentation and cultivated through animal cells. So these are the kinds of alternative protein products which aim to, one, mimic the look, the feel, and the nutritional profile of your regular animal-based meats and products. And that is what we're going to discuss today.
The big question, how big is the market? How large is this alternate protein market? What pace is it growing at, and how quickly will it get to the critical mass that we're talking about? Well, the world's consumers love animal-based proteins, so much so that in 2020, we ate nearly 574 million metric tons worth of meat, seafood, dairy, and eggs. That's almost 75 kilograms per person. That's also the average weight of a human being on Earth. The total protein consumption was 587 million tons, of which 13 million metric tons was alternate proteins. This is just 2020. But a report by BCG says that this market for alternate proteins, which is the green part that you see here, could grow all the way from 13 million tons to close to 97 million metric tons by 2035. And that's just the base case scenario. The bulk of this, of course, will be plant-based meats at about 69 million metric tons. So that's a lot of plant-based meats that we're talking about.
And the plant-based alternatives, actually, if you look at the overall space, the study also finds that the alternative protein forms only 2% of the total animal protein market. So that is the potential for growth, because by 2035, it is expected that they will make up almost 11% of the overall protein market. And that, again, like you said, was a base case scenario, right? In a faster technological innovation scenario where there's full regulatory support, it could speed up growth all the way to 22% in an optimistic scenario. So huge potential for growth from 2% all the way to 22%. On that note, let's bring in our experts on the show today. It's a packed house. We have Deepika Bhan, the President of Packaged Foods at Tata Consumer Products, Ashu Phake, the Vice President and Business Head of Frozen Foods at ITC, Varun Deshpande, who is the Managing Director at the Good Food Institute, are some of the people joining us.
And that's not all. We also have Sandeep Singh, who is the co-founder of Blue Tribe Fruits. Remember, this is the one that has Virat Kohli's investment in it. Shraddha Bhansali, the COO and co-founder at Evo Foods too, will join us here in the studio in just a bit. But let's go across to Varun first. Varun, what according to you is the size of the global alternate protein market, and what according to you again is the potential that it has in India itself?
So at the Good Food Institute India, we've seen a lot of projections from the likes of Kearney, UBS, JP Morgan, the companies that kind of size these markets globally. Have said that the plant-based meat market in particular is worth anywhere from about $90 billion to $370 billion globally by the year 2030 or 2035, right? And that's obviously a huge multi-billion-dollar global opportunity. The Indian opportunity within that is also sizable, right? Within this decade, the modeling that we've done indicates that we can get to about anywhere from about 1,800 crores to about 3,000 crores plus just for the domestic consumption of plant-based meat, with additional roughly the same size of export opportunity, right? So if you look at the significant opportunity that we have in India, it's not just for the domestic market, but also to fulfill some of that very large global demand for these products.
No, absolutely. And, various studies have various estimates. But Sandeep, let me come to you on that note, because, you've been one of the early players in the market. What is the typical target customer? I mean, are you focusing on the vegetarians who are curious to try this mock meat, or is it non-vegetarians who you think will shift because of various reasons, and who is it a harder sell to?
First things first, we are not with the vegetarian population. We believe if vegetarians eat our meat, it's achieving nothing on the global scale. It's not reducing greenhouse emission. It's not saving animals' lives. So we are very clearly for the non-vegetarian only, I would say. Vegetarians are welcome to eat it, but to make an impact, we need the meat-eating consumer to switch to us. Now, of course, you rightly said that unlike the West, we don't eat meat like twice a day, like in the West. So we believe even if somebody's eating meat, say thrice a week, if he switches to Blue Tribe once a week, we have made a positive impact. And there are a lot of people who are very conscious. The consumer and the youth of today are very conscious about the impact on the environment. They are a very discerning set of audiences we have today, consumers we have. So a lot of people who are, they know that what industrial meat does, and they are very conscious, and they would like to kind of reduce the greenhouse emission. The youth is very conscious. So the conscious consumer will switch to this, and they are switching.
Ashu, how has the consumer acceptance been, and what are your expansion plans in this space?
Plant-based diets, if you look at the portfolio that ITC MasterChef has today, in my plant-based diets portion, there is enough and more for consumers seeking alternates in plant, because the idea is, are we giving consumers enough beyond just paneer as an alternate in the veg space? So in my portfolio, I have products as beetroot kebab. If you look at my kebab range, I have beetroot kebabs, I have a dahi kebab, I have a falafel kebab, which is plant-based in a way, right? So that's the space we operate. And now I've introduced the incredible nuggets and incredible burger patties, which is in the plant-based space as we say. And if you're a non-vegetarian, you have an option to try out the plant-based, or you can also try out the alternate protein in the incredible burger patties and nuggets that we have. Because it gives you a texture and a feel which is similar to a non-veg bite, but it is obviously in the vegetarian space.
All right, gentlemen, hold your thoughts. As we said earlier, Shraddha Batsali, the co-founder at Evo Foods, is also going to be joining us. Shraddha, welcome to the studio here, and thank you for joining us. The hot new entrant in the plant-based meat or egg category, rather. So I actually wanted to start by asking you, what is the opportunity you saw? Because, I, for one, I am a meat eater. I consume eggs. Why would I go buy a plant-based egg, and how would you convert me with your pricing, for instance?
Okay, so the opportunity over here, the one thing we need to understand, right, is when you look at the plant-based market right now, on the innovation bell curve, where, we're at the beginning, we're at the innovator, early adopter phase, right? Yeah. So currently, with the kind of education and the price points which are available on the market, the opportunity is not per se to, convert someone like you who's having it. Currently, it's more for your vegans and vegetarians. But I will tell you, when it gets better.
That is the exact opposite of what Blue Tribe told us. For instance, they were saying that target audience is very much
And I'm a vegetarian. Yeah. I don't know whether I'll be able to consume an Evo product. How do you convince me to consume a product that tastes like egg?
Yeah,
because I don't like the taste of egg.
Okay, so two things. To answer your question first, how do you convince the mass market, right?
Yeah.
How do you get them to have eggs, right? So let's look at, a product that gives you all the benefits of the eggs that you love, right? Yeah. The taste, texture, protein, all that stuff without any of the nasties, right? So none of the cholesterol, no antibiotics, no cruelty.
No smell.
And no smell, and it's better for the planet, right? Yeah. And that, at a price point, that is the same as an organic egg. So if you're looking at a better egg, this product is for you. But if you're currently buying an egg at, the conventional egg rate, which is around 7 rupees, this product will be for you, but when I can give you a better value for your money.
Yes.
How much does this cost?
Huh?
How much does it cost?
This product right now, we're priced in the ballpark of organic eggs currently.
Which would be?
Between 250 to 300.
Oh, wow. From 7 rupees an egg to 250 to 300 an egg.
No, not per egg.
Oh, okay, per dozen.
Which is like 6 to 7.5 eggs. Okay. Depending on the packaging,
Okay, makes sense. Would you buy a product like that? And can you use it as an ingredient for which eggs are used, say, baking cakes, etc.?
So the product that we have right now, which is the plant-based boiled egg, that you can use exactly how you'd use a boiled egg, right? You can fry it, you can pan grill it, you can use it in a mousse, you can put it on your avo toast, eat it plain, any of that fun stuff.
All right, quickly, hold your thoughts there. We're very curious about this product, but we'll get back to you in just a bit. By 2035, it is actually estimated that every 10th portion of meat, dairy, eggs that is consumed around the globe is very likely to be alternative, and that is a best case scenario for the industry, the result is going to be a $290 billion market size for alternative proteins by 2035 globally. And this is going to yield significant benefits, not just for consumers, but like Shraddha was telling us, also for the climate. So a BCG study again finds that the shift to plant-based meat and eggs alone is going to save more than 1 gigaton of carbon dioxide emissions, which is the equal of Japan going completely carbon neutral for an entire year. Eating that much plant-based protein is also going to save enough water to supply the city of London for 40 years and make a major contribution to food security and our planet's biodiversity.
All right, then let's shift focus to India itself. About 70% of India's population, as against popular belief, is actually non-vegetarian. But we consume relatively low quantities of meat, which is sometimes referred to as flexitarians. About 50% of our population in the 15 to 49 age bracket also is digitally connected with the global trends. And this is something we here on Mad About Markets have been looking at ever since we started. And this is also the demographic which is looking to improve their lifestyle. And lastly, 7 out of 10 Indians are found to be deficient in proteins. And that explains the significant scope for consumption and conversion to alternate proteins, specifically plant-based meats. The other two categories of alternate proteins, which are microorganism based and we have the animal cell based protein as well, are in an extremely nascent stage, like Shraddha said, of the innovation bell curve. So we focus on the potential of plant-based meat market itself. We had a report coming in from Nirmal Bang estimating that the Indian plant-based meat market, which is currently about $30 to $40 million, by 2024, not too far away from now, it's expected to touch all the way up to $500 million, or roughly $500 million. And other reports too suggest that this market may double from there on to $1 billion by 2030 itself. So that's quite a size that we're talking about.
But who are the players that dominate this market? It's people like you. It's startups, actually. It's very much dominated by startups in India. And they've made rapid progress over the years. So you have your early starters, you know, the likes of Ahimsa, and then you have Evolved, Blue Tribe that came in later, Evo, of course, now Imagine Meats. All of these players have been in this space for a while now. But now, MNCs like Nestle and Unilever are also acquiring and even organically launching their own plant-based meat products globally. And if you see world over, whether it is your Domino's, your McDonald's, Subway, all of these chains, they have introduced plant-based meat products on their menus, and that trend is also picking up in India. Recently, you also had the big FMCG companies, the likes of Tata Consumer or ITC, also launching their products in the plant-based meat category as early as this year itself. So ample opportunity, first dominated by the startups, but now also getting into the space from, you know, the more established players. But let me toss that question to you, at Tata Consumer, Deepika, because, what made you look at this market now? Because you're only making your entry now in a space which is heavily dominated by startups. How much of the market share do you think you will be able to capture?
So I think let me start by saying that actually we think it's a big, juicy opportunity, right? It's definitely a Horizon 3 bet. So we're not in this market for the size today. We're in this market for what it promises to be. Aside from the fact that we know we are more a meat eating than a vegetarian country, right? 7 out of 10 Indians actually consume meat. That we are all seeing a really large trend towards more conscious consumption. So people are definitely more mindful of the food that they eat, both from a nutrition standpoint, as well as increasingly from a good for planet standpoint. And so there is definitely a very high proclivity to try, things like alternative meat.
All right. But the bigger question again is, what do consumers want in India in their plant-based meats? It really comes down to 3 things. The first one, the taste, of course. The second one, the texture of real meat. And the third, most important one, pricing. In fact, earlier we conducted a poll to understand the acceptance of plant-based meat in India. And here's what it threw up. Half of them said, no thanks, I'm vegetarian. And a third of them said, hell no, bring me the meat. 5% have switched over to plant-based, whereas 15% have said that they're vegetarian, but they're curious to taste. Pricing is extremely important, Deepika. So what would motivate people to actually buy or try this product? Price-wise, it's much higher, right?
No, I mean, that's a great question, and you're absolutely right. This is very early stage, right, in this industry. And as a result, at this point, the scale economics are not allowing for great costs. So today, if you went out to buy an alternative meat product, it will be more expensive than a meat substitute. Yeah, anything would be in 1.3 to 1.8x, depending on what flavor you buy. So we are very conscious that one of the challenges definitely in getting this adoption to go up is going to be to offer this at cost which is parity to meat. In an ideal world, you want it to even be cheaper because you want to incentivize consumption. I think with a bit of scale, some of that will kick in. Yeah, so getting price and cost right is something we're very conscious about. At this point, our endeavor has been to pass the first test with the consumer, which is the taste test, right? Because the biggest barrier to entry of the category is going to be if it feels like meat to you. So yes, we are conscious that it's higher cost, but that will settle over time.
All right, Deepika, take your point, but like we said, again, for companies, it also becomes about profitability. And at an innovation scale, you require a lot of investment to get there. So Varun, what has been the investor interest in this space been like outside in India? Is it as high as what we see globally?
Yeah, globally, investors have poured in about 11 billion with a B US dollars into this overall smart protein landscape. That includes plant-based foods, but also the other categories like products produced from animal cells or from fungi, etc. In India, there's only been a very minuscule amount that's gone into investment here, right? So we think India can actually be a huge growth market for this. Out of that 11 billion, less than 15 million with an M US dollars have gone into India over the last decade or so. And a lot of that has come within the last couple of years. In fact, we're seeing a lot of market momentum in India. We're seeing something like 40 plus companies across all plant-based industries, that's meat, egg and dairy, plant-based foods, that are being formed, and many of them were formed within the last 18 months and coming to market as we speak. So there is this huge opportunity now, and investors are seeing it positively, especially when they look at, for example, consumers saying, 63% of consumers saying, as I was mentioning, that they would be willing to or extremely willing to replace their meat consumption with a plant-based meat product. That does present an opportunity for a very interesting market for them to invest in.
All right, and that brings us to the question to Shraddha. Shraddha, how much money have you raised so far, and do you make any revenue?
So we just actually launched. We've raised just under 1 million in our pre-seed round, and we're raising more currently. Like you said, yes, it is pretty capital intensive because we have put in a lot of money into the R&D portion of creating Evo. But yeah, we just launched actually 20 days ago, and the response has been fantastic. Actually, the first day for pre-sales without any ad revenue, we sold 1,000 eggs on the first day, pre-sales. So it's been pretty exciting. It is pretty early to give more concrete numbers, but there's a definite excitement in the market for the product.
There is an excitement in the market, but do you think it's going to remain more of a metro phenomenon? Is it really going to be able to become a mass product, especially something as niche as, vegetarian eggs?
Okay. So, like I've said before, right, the Indian mentality is a value for money mentality.
Yeah, absolutely.
Taste is amazing, texture is amazing, but when it comes to tier 2, tier 3 cities, if we cannot compete on price, then we can't really capture mass market, right? Like I said, when it comes to value for money, we need to give the customer a bang for the buck. What does that mean, right? Better nutrition capabilities, better functionality, at the same price point. We need to give them everything and more that their animal product can give them. And
how close are you to getting there?
So we actually just entered an amazing partnership with Ginkgo Bioworks to also, use precision fermentation to produce actual egg cells, through fermentation. Okay. So while we talk about, it's nascent, the technology is not that far away. I do believe that within the next 5 years, we can make a genuinely better egg that's not similar to an egg, but that is an egg and at a better price point.
It's a process, and we're getting there.
Yes.
All right, so that brings us to the time where we take a short break. And on the other side, actually, we also look at key growth drivers, the speed bump in the alternative protein space and discuss the...
Welcome back. You're on Mad About Markets, and today we're talking about the alternative protein industry, expected to be almost $1 billion industry in India within the next 10 years. But right now, it is a nascent industry, and given that it is a nascent industry like all others, it has its own sets of challenges which it has to grapple with. So consumer acceptance is the biggest one, where the industry needs to maintain consumers' interest in these alternative proteins and their willingness to adopt to them, which could be impaired by concerns about sustainability, about health and safety. Then, of course, there's always the risk that the industry could be suddenly transformed by an entirely new technology, such as the creation of foods which are not even based on agricultural inputs at all. So that is something they have to keep up with. Proper regulation of how alternative proteins are made, approved and marketed and labeled is also essential at present. And the global regulatory environment, that is still quite vague and fragmented. Of course, it is developing rapidly with the industry as well. And there are other challenges you have, whether it is ingredient and supply chain disruptions, or impact on industries which are dependent on livestock and so on. So the list of challenges is quite large, given that it is a relatively newer industry. So Ashu, actually at ITC, what do you perceive to be the bigger challenges as someone who's just entered this market?
I think the first is going to be around awareness, which as a challenge and an opportunity per se, as both in the health space and around sustainability. As that continues to grow, I think people become more aware of the space and therefore seek out alternates. With awareness is also linked the fact that do people know enough of this, the product range available? So accessibility is going to be very important. Getting the product to be accessible to a large number of consumers is going to be key. Third is going to be affordability, Ritu. I mean, it's at this point in time, if you just look at the alternate protein space, it is expensive. It is 2 to 3 times more expensive than the current products available in the market. So you need to crack the affordability piece. And I think the fourth, which for me, which is also is very, very important, is around taste. You can get the other 3 going, but if you don't get the taste right, and if you don't provide consumers with a variety of great tasting products in this space, the format and the category will remain restricted.
Take that point: awareness, access, affordability, and most importantly, taste. But Deepika, what according to you, from a Tata Consumer standpoint, are the challenges which are unique in India to promote a product like this? We have our own set of challenges, right?
First, let me start by saying that there is greater opportunity than there is challenge. But the big challenges for us as we start to grow the category in India, number one is, just helping the consumer form the new habit. Right. So we're very encouraged by consumer studies that say that actually 6 out of 10 consumers are very open to buying an alternative meat product. So, but helping them make this journey, really changing the habit in a country like India. So that's the first. The second is cost. Yeah, so ensuring that we are able to provide this at a cost which is very close to the meat substitutes is going to be a big game changer in being able to get penetration for the category. So these 2, I think, are the top challenges. The third one I'm a bit more confident about, which is taste. See, we've got to make this change simple for consumers. It's a big change. So as far as the consumer is concerned, the product should taste as good as your meat product does. And I think that's what we're very conscious about.
All right, and that brings us to the bigger question: can alternative proteins be true mass-based products in the future here or not? And we pose this question to both Sandeep as well as Ashu. Sandeep, take it away.
Being a mass market, company was going to take time for us. I would say we are at least 5 years away from that. And you're right, we cannot be a mass product, nor are we positioning ourselves for that. It's going to take time. So in 5 to 6 years, when there'll be price parity with animal-based product, we could have some chances of being a mass company.
We'll have to wait and see when in terms of how it evolves. And if you're specifically talking of alternate proteins, and as I said, this will of course depend on those 4 key drivers around affordability and taste and accessibility and awareness. And that'll determine how the category evolves. But as we say and as we speak, within that there is a category, as I keep referring to it, in terms of plant-based diets, right? which is a whole set of ingredient-led products. So whether the ingredients are lentil-based, whether the ingredients are pulses-based, whether the ingredients has a part of dairy in it, that's the portfolio which is also going to play an important role. So as you give consumers choices in both these spaces, one is plant-based diets and alternate protein spaces, I think the category will start to see emerge differently over the next few years.
All right, on that note, we are going to wrap up this edition of Mad About Markets. So Ashu, Deepika, Varun, Sandeep, all of you, thank you very much for taking time out and joining us here today.
All right, with that, we wrap up on this edition. See you again, same time next week.